Welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's going on? I hope you guys are doing great today. I know my day's going okay. It's another great day, man, in recovery. Another great day in spirituality. Another great day to be alive. Yes, it is. So check this out. Let's get into the session right away. We might as well dig right in, right? So without further ado, let's ring in and set the tone, set that vibrational mood going, and that energy that grounds us down. You know what I mean? That grounds us down to the here and now, so that we can give our undivided attention to the message, to pick up what you need to pick up out of it. You know what I'm saying? When you give your undivided attention, you're grounded. You're paying attention. You're allowing that energy of you to take precedence and absorb, right? And let go what it needs to let go. So without further ado, we'll ring in. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Eternal Buddha Shakyamuni, please guide us. Energies of the world, energies of the universe, please guide us. May the energies come into our lives, come into our minds, come into this episode, come into the here and now to ground you, to allow you to see what you can't see today, to hear what you've been needing to hear today, to accomplish what you need to accomplish today, to get past that adversity of today. Thank you. Alrighty, so now that we're grounded, man. We're grounded and we're ready to absorb, right? To absorb the message of what it is that it's coming out today. You know what I'm saying? Last video I kind of just went off the top of my head of what was happening right then and there. So that's what I came up with. And today I've had a little bit more of a meditative time to really get something, generate something in my mind, in my heart. Something that's really strong in my life today. Because I think if you grasp those things that you're paying attention to the most of the things that you're paying attention to most of in your life is what you're going to be more impactful with, right? And what I'm going to bring to you today, the message we're relaying today is going to come from the Threefold Lotus Sutra. And the reason being is because that is my journey right now. My journey consists of a lot of studying of the Threefold Lotus Sutra and my spirituality. So I'm blending that in with my recovery. So that's how my life is going right now. And that is really giving me a strong rooted foundation in how I dictate my life today. So I want to share that with you guys because I believe that something in that chapter that we're going to go over today has something to do with that problem that you're dealing with today. Maybe it's an answer to something that you've been waiting for, right? And the Threefold Lotus Sutra consists of three main breakdowns, right? And that is it's got three main sutras, right? And that is the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings, which has 3 chapters in itself. Then the Sutra of the Lotus Flower of the Wondrous Dharma, which has, the majority of the chapters, right? And the last sutra, the Sutra of the method for contemplating the Bodhisattva, universal sage. Now, I have been deep in study since the start of this year, to be honest with you. And I dug deep in the first 8 chapters. Sutra of Innumerable Meanings having 3, then the Sutra of the Lotus Flower of the Wondrous Dharma having the rest of the it has 28 chapters, and right now I've dug in to the first 3 of the first and the first 5 of the second. So now we're on chapter 6, and when I was meditating, I was thinking about what came to my mind was that this is a chapter that needs to be talked about because it has such a big, profound effect on recovery. You know what I'm saying? So that is my main reason. It has a big, profound effect on dealing with dukkha, with suffering. And anybody who's involved or who knows anything about addiction, recovery of any sort, knows that the suffering is that, right? That's the big part of why you're stuck in those things. Why I get so depressed, why I get so moody with the PTSD, or why this grief is really clinging me down to my bedroom, you know what I'm saying? Or why the addiction, I can't put this down, or I, you know what I'm saying? It just goes hand in hand, right? And so what chapter 6 it talks about, chapter 6 is called the prediction, right? And in this chapter, you have Shakyamuni Buddha is going to give a prediction that all of these disciples will one day become Buddha, right? And the big part of that is giving the assurance. Okay, now that word assurance is a big part of addiction and recovery. It's a big part of recovery in general, because a lot of people in recovery, and I want to say most, I mean, I know myself, and I guess I'll just go with that. I'll just go with my own personal recovery, is that the assurance was such a big part of getting over the obstacle into sobriety. You know what I'm saying? Because you could be in recovery and still very much be using. You know what I'm saying? I've been there. You know, I've been in recovery where I'm going to these meetings and I'm going to this treatment center, you know, an outpatient perhaps, and as soon as I leave, I'm still using. You know what I'm saying? So the jump there is the assurance to get to past that dukkha to sobriety. It's a big jump. You know what I'm saying? It's a big jump because it's a drastic change in the way you're living, right? But when because it's the unknown, right? It's the unknown. Nobody likes the unknown. It's fearful, right? Now, the assurance in this chapter, these disciples have already heard through the previous chapters that they will become Buddha one day, but they're still caught up in this. Really? I mean, I've been practicing all this stuff. I've been abiding by all of these things. I've been deep in the program. I've been deep in my practice. But still yet, there's a crutch. Still yet, there is a what's the word? A reservation You know what I'm saying? And when you're living your life with that crutch, with that reservation, with that little bit of doubt, it's tough to move past. You know what I'm saying? Because that lingers with you. And the more it lingers with you, the heavier it gets. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to move around. It's hard to maneuver your life like that when you still have that little bit of, you ever gone fishing and you're just like reeling your reel in and then it gets caught and you're like, dang, it's still moving, but gosh, this is tough. You know what I'm saying? What's happening here? It's kind of like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, assurance in a Buddhist context, I guess, is generally refers to an unshakable exponential confidence in the truth of the Dharma, in the truth of the Buddhist teaching. Now, one's own capacity to achieve enlightenment, rather than external guarantee, it is an inner certainty manifested from mindfulness, ethical living, and internal insight. You know what I'm saying? And when you get assurance when you get that acknowledgement, that assurance, that reaffirmation, that it's like being a kid, right? And you want to go outside and play, and you're just kind of, man, I just can't leave unless I ask my parents, unless I get the okay from my mom, my dad, and I'm at the playground and I know I'm not supposed to be going to the big swings or the big slide, but I get the A-okay to do so. Man, when you get the A-okay to go ahead and do it, you do it without fear. You know what I'm saying? Where initially you were waiting, or you're just sitting there watching the other kids do it. Swinging high, man, and you're freaking out, right? Watching them climb the big ladder up to the slide, and you're just freaking out. Wow, it looks freaked out to me. I don't know if I could do that. And then you get the affirmation from mom and dad, and you're like, whoa. It's like this whole thing just come off of you, man. And you just, boom, you sprint up the ladder. And then you're just, whoosh, wind flying in your hair. The adrenaline, the rush. And what happens after that? After that assurance, after you got that assurance, then what happens after that? You want to keep going and going and going and going. Right? That's what happens when you get this affirmation. And that is exactly what's happening here in this setting, man. That these disciples are getting that affirmation, the assurance from the Buddha himself, saying that you too will become Buddha. Now that lights a fire in somebody. You know what I'm saying? That lights a fire in you to want to seek, to want to, okay, well, how is this going to happen? What do we got to do? Point me to the way. You know what I'm saying? And this is exactly what's happening here. And in this chapter, Mahakasyapa, which is one of the Buddha's disciples, is praised by the Buddha and gets assurance that he will in the future become a Buddha called Rama Smiprabhasa, Rasmi Brahapsa, Tathagata, Arhat. Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. The 10 epithets. The Buddha describes himself as the 10 epithets. All of these terms mean Buddha in this context here. And they're getting the affirmation, they're getting the assurance that they too will have those 10 epithets. You know, they're getting it straight from the horse's mouth, man. And now when they get this, they got this assurance that, wow, they move on. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I really like how the description of the setting is grand with all of these precious jewels and terrains, flat with no obstacles, and that here the Sutra of Mahayana are said to be preserved. You know what I'm saying? In this setting, and the way that Buddha is describing this prediction to the disciples, he's giving this, he's setting the whole stage. He's giving you this whole stage of how things look and what's gonna, what your community is gonna be called, and the followers that you're gonna have, and all of this stuff, right? And giving you this really vivid picture of what you're gonna become if you follow the Dharma, right? Now, it makes me think that by studying, reciting, and sharing the sutras, it will bring this path of no barriers, but this infinite way of thinking and being really comforting to know. You know what I'm saying? It's really comforting to know that the way he's describing these roads with these golden ropes and these jewels, and there's no mountains, everything's just flat. When I'm thinking about that, to me, that means that it's infinite. There's no ending to that. There's no obstacles in your way. How beautiful is that, to know the assurance? That to me is such a beautiful description of a safety net if you involve yourself in the teachings of the Dharma. And like it says, living them, reciting them, and sharing them, you too will become Buddha. You too will be Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed nor the world, unsurpassed, tamer of demons and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. How much of an assurance is that it's giving you this whole description that you too can do this. You too can become this. You too can be a part of this. You know what I'm saying? Now, practicing the pure path of discipline and integrity, seeking for wisdom of the Buddha. That's a very important part there. Practicing the pure path of discipline and integrity, seeking for wisdom of the Buddha. Now, if you were seeking wisdom of the Buddha, this is what you got to do. You got to practice the pure path of discipline. And how much is that interrelated with recovery? If you want to get to this level of sobriety, you have to practice the path of your own higher power, of the steps of the 12-step program at your capacity. Doesn't mean that you gotta do it because, you know, your sponsor, the way your sponsor did it. No, your sponsor's there to guide you at your capacity. You know what I'm saying? Your sponsor's there to say, okay, yeah, it's this. Now, because my step 5 was like this, doesn't mean your step 5 is going to be like that. No. Your step 5 is going to be your step 5. It's going to be your here and now. It's going to be your capacity. And the only way to get to that and to understand that is by practicing the pure path of discipline. And that's in anything that you do. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think this is the assurance for us. I think that part is the assurance for you and I, that we too will become a Buddha if we are disciplined in that way of seeking the Buddha's wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Now, I want to jump into a reference text, an interpretation, if you will, of that chapter by the founder of Risoko Seikai, Nikkyo Niwanno, his book, which is called Buddhism for Today. Beautiful book right here. And in that chapter 6, his interpretation of chapter 6, right away, the very first line goes like this. Assurance of Buddhahood are contingent on practice. That's the very first thing he puts in there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? It's this. Right before that, he says 3 essential points about assurance of Buddhahood. The first one is assurance of Buddhahood are contingent on practice. Now, and why disciples desire assurance of Buddhahood? Then faith requires inspiration. Now, I don't know, let me get into this right here. Just kind of give you, I'll just read the first part of this. I guess we could do that because there's quite a few, there's about 7 or 8 points in this chapter that I want to discuss with you because I think they're the most important part to intertwine the spiritual concept, not only of Buddhism, but you can put this spiritual concept in whatever it is that you're practicing, right? Because they're ways of living, you know what I'm saying? And they're ways that are going to get you to the next step of opening that mental thought process so that you can bring the teaching to your capacity of your life, of your suffering that you're going through right here now today. You know what I'm saying? Now, the Nikkyo Niwanno states, as already explained, an assurance of Buddhahood means to receive a specific promise from the Buddha that you will surely become a Buddha. This term, assurance of Buddhahood, the Vyakarna, which is in Sanskrit, Vyakarna meaning the assurance of Buddhahood, has 3 subtle yet extremely important nuances that we must fully understand right from the beginning. The first is that Shakyamuni doesn't say you are Buddhas, but you will become Buddhas. You know what I'm saying? And we want to make this clear because a lot of people can get this misconception there and kind of get to that point like, oh, it's kind of like that thing in the Christian world that, oh, if you just asked to be saved, then no matter if you did X, Y, or Z, then you're going to be okay. No, it doesn't work like that. You got to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? Now, the first is that Shakyamuni does not say you are Buddhas, but you will become Buddhas. In the eyes of the Buddha, all living beings possess Buddha nature, and consequently, there is no doubt that everyone is capable of attaining Buddhahood. But by taking the Buddha to have said simply that you are Buddhas will lead to a terrible misunderstanding. We are likely to misinterpret these words to mean that even in our state of delusion, we might actually be enlightened, or that we can reach Buddhahood as easily as riding an escalator. And that's what I'm saying. It's just because you're getting told this assurance doesn't mean that that's where it ends. You know what I'm saying? And we want to make that clear because spirituality, man, recovery, sobriety, dealing with the dukkha, the suffering of your life, is an everyday thing. It's a moment-to-moment thing. You know, I never knew that recovery and spirituality would be so exhausting. You know what I'm saying? But it is. It's an exhausting, beautiful feeling. You know what I'm saying? Because even though at the end of the day, I lay down and I'm so tired, but so blissful at the same time because of everything that I did in my day. I'm excited that I got to meditate for X amount of time. I'm excited that I got to help at least one person today. that I got to at least share the illumination of my energy with someone. Beautiful feeling, man, because it makes you and it gives you the assurance to keep going. You know what I'm saying? That's the beautiful cause and effect of the way to deal with the dukkha. You know what I'm saying? Now, I want to give you another point that Nikkyo Niwanno states here. He states, he also puts down here, what we truly understand must inspire us, and only then does it generate faith. When we have faith, the desire to act for the benefit of individuals and society also naturally develop. And man, in the world of addiction, in the world of recovery, that is a big part. Because when you understand, it inspires you to, it generates that thing in you. A lot of people go into the rooms thinking the higher power, what? What are you talking about? How does this thing that I can't even see work in my life? You don't know. You don't know my life. You know what? The beautiful part of that is that we don't have to know your life. And I don't need to. Because the discipline and the action of the Dharma is what's going to bring that assurance to you at your capacity, not at mine, at yours. This is going to come to you somewhere along the line if you show discipline to the teachings. Because if you show discipline to the life of PTSD, the life of depression, the life of anxiety, the life of addiction, then guess what you're going to get? You're going to get exactly the repercussions of that. You're going to stay in that cyclical world of samsara. You know what I'm saying? That's how that works. Now, if you mental thought process is paying attention to more of the Dharma, to more of your higher power, then guess what's going to happen? It's going to reciprocate. You're going to start awakening to things, not at your capacity, at the interdependent degeneration of the cause and effect of what you put into it. That's how that works. You know what I'm saying? And yes, it could be exhausting. And I'm here to tell you it is. But the beautiful feeling, the beautiful things that come to your fruition into your life because of that discipline they're priceless. You can't put any price to that. You know what I'm saying? It's just this overwhelming feeling of gratitude, right? Now, I'm going to move forward here and give you another little thing here that I got out of the chapter. It says, Maras can be broadly divided into two categories. The first category is the Maras within oneself, meaning our instinctive impulses and mistaken views that disturb an upright mind. These include our defilements, the troubles that the five aggregates, the components that make up our body and mind, cause us to suffer and even physical death. The second category is the maras outside oneself, which refers to external enticements and pressures. Now, how can we do so? There is but a single course open to us. Seek the teaching of the Buddha, have faith in them, and put them into practice. The real way is to have no mara deeds, is to have faith in the true teachings of the Buddha and to put them into practice. When we do so, the mara deeds that adhere to our minds and bodies dissipates, like the mists before the morning sun, allowing our nature to shine forth. Now, man, that right there is core recovery at work. Okay? And what this is talking, when it's talking about the maras means total destruction, right? So now what it's saying is that when you have these maras, mental thoughts of total destruction in your mind, which we in addiction and recovery, people dealing with anxieties, PTSD, have that constantly going on in their head. It's hard to maneuver your life like that except through the destruction, right? And destruction brings nothing but destruction. But when you have the discipline to study the Dharma, to study the 12-step programs, to involve yourself in the work, involve yourself in service, be teachable, let the walls down, be vulnerable to the drastic change that a lot of us need, people, places, and things, is when we start polishing that introspective awareness, mental capacity of you. Because now you're seeing you as a third person in a sense. Now you know where to maneuver these mara deeds, these mara thoughts, these destructive thoughts. You know how to move them now like chess pieces. You know what I'm saying? You don't let that dictate. Now you're able to maneuver these pieces so that you can get past the adversity and stay in that sobriety mode, to stay in that assurance mode, to stay in that illuminated mode. Because for a lot of us,